And welcome back to Block TV, where it is time yet again for Pump or Dump. That's that point in time where we look at dominant news narratives of the week that was. We see if we agree or disagree with the agenda and whether we pump it or dump it. Now, to do so, I'm joined in studio by none other than our cracking team of reporters, starting with, as Asha Westrop Evans likes to call her, tech maven Oran Spitzer. Right after that, the boy that is the joy and the myth, whom we all love, Zachy Hennessy. Thank God for regulations, Mama Whitney Deal, the voice of reason. And we can't do this without the adult in the room, the man with two last names, Asha Westrop Evans, senior correspondent. Wonderful to have you all here. Now, 2 rounds, as always, and we're going to start with Whitney. Your first round is Nuchin's number 2 versus the UK's Reputation Hail Mary. I love what that sounds like. Your first round, your minute begins now.
All right. So in news that's not really news, coming out of the Hill, nothing really ever changes in Washington.
Indeed.
Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, which I love that name, his number 2, also sounds very funny, claimed at a recent event that crypto not only has implications for private business, but also for a number of activities the government is responsible for. Shocker. They're saying that crypto can potentially be used to evade existing legal frameworks. Duh, whatever.
Jeez.
Moving on. Okay.
Yeah.
The UK's Reputation Hail Mary. So now we all know that the UK isn't doing very well with Brexit and everything.
And so much more.
Yeah, and so much more. But now they're trying to, I guess, add a little bit of light to the darkness because they're trying to make a concrete crypto framework. According to a Cointelegraph report, the Tech Nation and Law Tech Delivery Panel seeks to lay the foundation for a robust regulatory framework for blockchain, cryptocurrency, and smart contracts, and outlines crypto assets as tradable property and smart. I tried.
That was
Wow, you got it out, bro.
No,
You heard the rising panic in your voice.
I spent too much time on Mnuchin on the funny name.
Mnuchin takes at least 20 seconds to pronounce, so we've got that. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, which I can say proudly right now, ladies and gentlemen, what do we think?
Yeah, I think talking about the Hill is old hat and boring because it's really just kind of the same old shit, huh?
That's one, a very big statement coming after a week of unrelated to us of impeachment hearings, but yes.
Well, yeah, no.
I know.
But the question is, I guess, can the UK convincingly turn itself around when it comes to an innovative tech, post-establishment sort of nation in the wake of Brexit? I mean, I know that's what the UK is trying to do, but given they have defined what it is to be the establishment for the last 300 years, it's going to be a hard sell for me for the UK to turn around and be like, you know what, we're actually the financial innovators of the world, and look how cool we are.
Sounded like a true Australian.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's good for the UK is that they have this case law-based approach, so that it can change, it can meld.
I think that
Could I play devil's advocate? No, go ahead.
You
first,
can always
you're
play
the
devil's
reporter. No,
advocate.
go ahead.
But what I wanted to say was just, I think the dispute here is whether we should actually be pumping this. You know what I mean? Like, important story, I get it. Whitney, basically, it was a slow week in crypto. Last week, we get it.
In theory, though, should we be pumping anything regulation related? Because what really changes?
No.
Things change, Whitney.
No.
Okay, that is some pessimistic shit.
Stop now. Can I just stop for a
Sorry, I'm
second?
being
People,
negative.
I am the one reaching 50, not you girls. Now, jaded and cynical, etc. First of all, yes, we should. That will bring about change. Do we believe the UK? I tend to stand with the Australian on that on so many levels, and I just got 2 words. You don't know this, but it's Prince Andrew. That said, that said, regulation in the UK at a time like this, I would argue, given the fact that Brexit ain't going nowhere,
Right.
maybe somebody in that administration has figured out that there is a new thing out on the block. I'm really simplifying this right now.
I just think they're playing catch up from so far behind and from their own different ball game that I think there are so many other nations doing things more effectively. A little tease to what might be coming later in Pump or Dump.
Oh, okay.
But I personally wouldn't choose to focus on the UK.
I think that what just happened is really against the rules of pump or dump, but that's your
You're allowed to shill your own pump, all right?
Okay, Zachy wins this one.
Yeah!
No! But we're going.
You win everything.
Yes, just when he doesn't speak, that's when he wins. Cool. Now, there is a method to this madness. We're going to Zachy with thick Bitcoin energy versus hefty porn energy. can't wait to hear this one. Your minute starts.
All right, so you know how
Now.
everybody. All right, so you know how everybody's always talking about the use cost of Bitcoin. It's 0.25% of the world's energy output. That's a big problem. We talked about it in a recent SMB. We show the tweet. I got a tweet here. It says, it's from Alex Kruger. He says, Bitcoin carbon footprint is 22 megatons of CO2 per year, but the porn streaming carbon footprint is 140 megatons of CO2 per year. How often do you hear people complain about porn's huge carbon dioxide emissions? I recommend, first of all, we shouldn't completely dump the fact that Bitcoin is using a lot of energy. That is a problem. We should definitely work on fixing that. But also, keep in mind that, porn is using up the fucking amount of energy of Ireland. So, we can all use a little bit of solar paneling, not just Bitcoin because it's an easy target. Talk to Pornhub about their situation because they're using a shitload of energy and they could, easily just revert the magazines or something. I don't know.
I have a feeling PayPal felt the same way. I'm kidding. But that said,
So what you're trying to tell me is that there's a lot of energy being used by a bunch of wankers, and also the porn industry has a big problem as well.
He's done well.
Thank you.
He did a good job.
Stakadoosh.
Yes,
Okay.
basically all we have
Gals,
to
although
say
I
is
know
yes.
you've never heard of porn.
Sure.
Somebody,
Yes, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
somebody
I like
spot
it
the
when-
lie.
yeah.
We should be talking about it.
Okay, let me argue
Sure.
this. First of all, green energy, as has been proven by Apple and big behemoths of tech, is possible and available for computer farms. You can just choose to go green with solar panels, and then we won't be having these discussions, be it Bitcoin or porn.
And Yael wins this round.
Thank
No?
you. Okay, no. Okay.
But it is
Okay.
an important discussion to be had. There's a lot of accusations of Bitcoin utilizing the Bitcoin network utilizing masses of energy, and it's a waste. And why are we just wasting energy doing this? We're wasting energy using a bunch of different things. And as we've said time and time again, and numerous reports have come out have shown, it's not actually about use of energy. It's about availability of energy. That's the real problem that is the case in a lot of the world. We actually have more energy than we could possibly use.
Yep.
It's about utilizing that energy, which is why the vast majority of Bitcoin mining operations take advantage of hydropower, excess hydropower in China, which would otherwise just
It's also
run
about
over the dam.
producing that energy in a way that's not fucking up the world.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
earth, as you know. As
Yeah,
they
yeah.
call
Which
it.
again, we've seen again,
It's doable.
Bitcoin has a fantastic potential to create cascading effects for renewables projects around the world by making them economically viable. I
Porn
don't see the
has great
porn.
potential for staining my parents' carpet.
Exactly.
We're gonna move
Whoa!
on.
Yeah, we're gonna. But I definitely give this round to Usher.
Yeah.
Usher, and we're moving to you.
Yeah.
Price fall versus power law.
Yeah.
Usher Westrup Evans minute begins now.
Okay, so this one, it's one I've actually spoken about in the past, but it's a good time to reiterate it given we've seen the stark fall over the weekend. We saw Bitcoin drop to the low 7,000s, currently at the time of filming hovering around 7,200. But let's not focus on that because it's still falling well within the power law. Let's take a look at what I mean here. That is, as elucidated here by H.C. Berger, a good Bitcoin Twitterer who lays these things out. What this law is it's put out on a dual logarithmic scale. That means that both the x and the y-axis are logarithmic. You can actually see that Bitcoin has been growing at a fairly consistent rate within a corridor of power. There's a whole mathematical formula you can break down about that. I recommend going to H.C. Berger's Medium article where he breaks down how this works. But effectively what it shows is that unless Bitcoin were to drop below $4,000 at the moment, we would still fall very within this power growth corridor, and it means that in the long-term trend, Bitcoin is still trending up, it is still growing considerably, it is not a time to stress. In fact, it's a time to start buying.
So all I'm hearing here really is that the number I needed to get to so that I can afford Bitcoin is just not going to happen for me.
I'm not going to get on air
And if
into
it
your
does-
investing strategy and how much it hurts me around, but regardless of the fact is that the point
But
is
that's it's actually, putting aside the fact that Iran is actually pointing to what many of us are thinking. Then yes, I mean do we think that Usher is correct in that that's what we should be pumping?
I mean, do we think that MC, what's this person's
H.C.
name?
Berger.
H.C. excuse me, Berger is correct. We should definitely be pumping this.
This is
because
not
this is
fine.
news to me.
this is not exclusively his theory.
He was
Yeah.
defined
No,
by
of
you
course, but
as
he had the pretty
just
graph.
good. He is a good Twitterer. Like, I don't know. Anyways, no, he
No,
seems
you can read the whole Medium article. I have 1
Yeah.
minute to break it down. You got to
seems
give
like a
me
real smart bloke.
I have an
as they
entire-
say.
Asher, I just want to tell you,
predictions
this is what
market on
having
this.
children is like. Okay.
I have an entire
comparing me to
predictions
your
market
children.
on this particular topic. You can catch it on blocktv.com.
Hey, wink at that one. Wink at that one.
Or, you know, or first of all, I tend to agree. Or on the other hand, one could argue that any kind of attempt to theorize why a dip is happening right now is almost like, you know, reading your astrological sign prediction.
Hey, listen, Mercury in retrograde is a real
It's not in
thing.
retrograde
Mercury's
anymore.
out
It's
of
not in
retrograde.
retrograde. It's out of
But when it
retrograde.
was, it's a real
You can't
thing.
blame the Mercury thing anymore.
Okay, we
I
are
believe
moving
it. I
ahead to,
believe
come
in
on,
this.
buzz me, buzz
All
me,
right.
buzz me, they're done. Thank you. We are moving on to Iran Spitzer, the Maven,
Yeah.
round 1.
Right.
What is your round 1?
Yeah, so we have to clarify because this absolutely looks like I'm pumping.
Your round 1 just began.
Yeah, it looks like I'm dumping
Just
Binance
began.
and I'm pumping
You're
the
in
blocks.
it. You're
but
in
I'm
it.
not. I'm dumping the Fed stability report because it's bullshit and
You
they're
just
not giving us
lost
the
10,
reason why it's
11,
catastrophic.
12 seconds,
And I am
13
pumping the
seconds.
story on Binance versus the block, which is what that meant to say. Anyway, this story does need to be pumped because CZ has been the communicator of the cryptosphere. Everybody looks at tweets and they're like, oh, you're so good, you're communicating with us. There was the KYC hacker and everybody forgave it because it was like, oh, look, but he's communicating. Why would he do that if he's lying? And then this came out, the report on the block, which I'll be right, that claimed, for those who don't know, the raid. They raided the offices in China, which apparently, in Shanghai, which apparently don't exist, but they do. There was a whole Twitter feud about it. Basically, take everything that CZ says from this point on with a grain of salt because the block just went through a massive battle so that we know that we can't believe every word he says, and it's all on Twitter, so you can go check that out.
Very nice.
Fascinating topic. Okay, I'm going to let you guys go first.
It's like dipping your head into like white water rafting quality. It's just so many words. You did so
What
good.
I said, all the
yeah,
words I
you
said?
said so many words, but they're all good.
Asher, help me out here.
Yeah,
Good
okay.
words.
Excuse
Thank
me,
you.
Mr.
Thanks
Trump,
for
could you
not
please,
listening to
me.
please
Thank you.
sit down?
Oh, that was awesome.
She may have
Yeah.
the best words, but more to the point of the content, it is a fascinating story, and it actually shows the deep sort of clefts that exist, the cleavages that exist within this industry that are coming out here. You can't just have a guy sort of put up as this sort of messiah of the sphere who is just all things good, and now suddenly they're talking about creating an anti-FUD, fund.
An anti-FUD, oh, this was good with Justin. Like they both had a thing on Twitter where they were like, we're gonna start
Justin
a
Sun,
1 million.
yeah.
Justin Sun, we're gonna start a $1 million FUD, anti-FUD, like fighting a FUD account or
If
whatever.
you say
But I
anything
do
bad, they
have
will
to-
dox your news site.
Apparently, they're gonna say, wait, but I do have to, because a couple of weeks ago on Pump or Dump, Asher was all like, we gotta pump, or we gotta dump Binance because they're lying to us
Yeah,
about a bunch
they're
of shit.
shifty.
And I actually kind of I was like, no, Asher, I don't think what you're saying is true. And so this is me saying, Asher, oh my God, you were right.
Right, so can I get
Oh my
retroactive
God!
points?
Yeah, first of all,
Can I
I
get
think those are
retroactive
highlights.
points for that one?
Highlight?
Can I-
No, no.
No, you get points for that.
Not
Pump
only
or
that,
dump.
can I say something about the sphere, folks? Twitter, if somebody says something on Twitter, does that make it true? It's as simple as that.
Yes.
I
Of course it does. What do you mean?
I mean, that's what I've been led to believe, right?
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think, at the end of the day, Asher and Iran
Thank you.
win this round. I think this story has just begun.
Right.
Let's hope that we and the rest of the sphere will continue reporting on it, and then everybody else in the sphere. We're moving to round 2. Beware. Round 2, and of course, this starts with Whitney with Crypto Queen and a Bush versus Morocco FinTech. Okay, that's fascinating and sounds like a dish. Let's
You
see,
don't look at me that way.
begins now.
All right, so we're dumping George Bush's brother Neil, who is alleged to have received $300,000 in compensation to attend a meeting involving OneCoin co-founder. And
I'm
his-
just in shock. I forgot about that Bush brother, but okay.
He's the black sheep.
Yeah, okay.
And his fugitive sister, now let's see if I can say her name. Ruja Ignatova.
Ignatova.
Okay. She's known as the Crypto Queen. Basically, he was involved in an oil field deal, shocker, okay, that was purchased with a very large portion of OneCoin. It's still active, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, we're going to move along to, we should really pump Morocco FinTech, because last week we had false information, false reports about Tunisia and their, digital currency.
Supposedly, exactly.
Supposedly. But now Morocco is looking to expand access to financial services through the integration of blockchain technology to the country's financial sector as part of the country's financial initiative to provide to underserved citizens.
Okay.
You know, the e-dinar didn't work
Okay,
out.
let him
but
speak and then
now
Asher
you
will
got
jump in.
what kind of currency they got down there in Morocco?
So it's
How did the Tunisia thing though get so botched? Does
it
anybody know?
was from the company that they were partnering with, that the Tunisian government was going to partner with, the Russian company. They said, oh, we're going to have this, we're going to release this, and no.
Don't you love it when authoritarian press countries try to actually push that as free speech? But move ahead. Yes.
But although I wonder why dump the OneCoin story?
Yeah.
Because that's so fascinating. I mean, I'm pro the Moroccan pump, but why dump the OneCoin?
So the acerbic skeptic in me
Yeah.
is kind of sick about hearing about politicians and how.
I know, but OneCoin is such a juicy story. I love a
We
good
know where
Ponzi.
you're
There's a
at.
Bush
But the
involved.
lesser
There's a Bush
Bush brother.
Yeah.
Is it really?
That said, I'm gonna agree with Asher because I'll give you an example. Okay, there's a Bush involved here. Really, at the end of the day, we got a lineage of them or the hierarchy of politicians in the United States messing around now with the new form of money. Not mutually exclusive, definitely. I think and rightfully so, the regulation mama in you wants to see more, accurate reporting about that. But come on, it's like Hunter Biden. It's almost that.
One in the coin is worth two with a bush.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get back to you on that.
But the Morocco stuff is fascinating.
Thank you.
And that's,
Thank you. Once again, Zaki wins this round, and we're going to Zaki with allegations against AWE versus the power of memes. And clearly, no, you're going to prove your point once again. I don't disagree. Your minute begins now.
Many of you might have heard some shocking allegations against my friend and co-anchor Asher Westrup Evans. Unspeakable things I will
He's
not.
going to be
Yeah,
Don't
he's
interrupt me. I only have a little bit of
yeah,
time.
he's
If
really
you show the
upping his
pictures, you can see he looks like a fucking supervillain, like a big dopey do, and it's scary. There's things that are out against him, but we're not going to discuss those. Okay, we're going to leave those by the wayside because I want
and now there's the Mona
I want to
Lisa
protect
smile.
my friend, and I want him to feel safe and comfortable. So we're going to move forward. John McAfee sent out a tweet. Show the tweet. He says, the Epstein murder is unraveling. His guards have now been charged with falsifying records the night of his death. It will all go all the way to the top. This would have been swept under the rug if not for the attention of our memes. Memes have power. So this is kind of something that I want to focus on instead of my dear friend and his kind of problems. Because, the more memes that we're sticking out there, the more we can see this dip turn into a swoosh and all those other things. So make memes.
This is like the third time that Zaki has tried to pump meme game in various forms. This time
It's
the
not
McAfee
working.
thing. Last
No,
time
I just want to tell you, it's not only done that. This is like the third time he has juxtapositioned trashing Usher versus the power
no,
of
he
memes.
trashed Yana
Zaki,
once too.
I have, in the words of Tina Fey, the writer of Mean Girls, why are you so obsessed with me?
Oh.
This is the real question.
Okay, but let's talk about it. First of all, there are those who argue in the sphere. You're not the first one to say this. Somebody from, I think it was Celsius, argued with me that memes should be the future of reporting.
That's a lot though. That's far. That's like,
It's very far that we are heading towards that. Look, the attention span of your users / Generation Z, whatever comes after you, is getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. Okay?
so maybe the headline should be like the picture.
Maybe the headline should be a
thumbnail-
meme.
the thumbnail
Okay, but
should
if
be
you
a
had
meme.
to meme Zaki, what would it be? Come on, Asher, I'm giving you a present on a plate.
Oh, no, I'm not a creator of memes. That's
I'm not a
beyond me.
creator
But
of memes. Why are you putting us on the spot?
I will say, memes are a cultural phenomenon that go back to like Greek and Roman times. The idea of the collection of cultural ideas that spread throughout history. So I think it's wildly appropriate that history is
An
cyclical. And we're
Buzz
moving
it now
back.
because he just
Answer.
wiped the floor with him. Buzz, 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 buzz.
Nobody's
buzz.
buzzing you, baby.
Control room, buzz. Thank you.
Sleep in there.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna move ahead
Buzzing them.
Please release me with the buzz.
to Usher with China crackdown versus EU fund. Interesting. Your
Okay.
minute begins now.
All right, so yeah, China has been cracking down on a number of unlicensed exchanges.
Thank you.
I'm getting ahead of time. I
Yes.
got a little 5-second buzz. But you know what? We can do that, but we also, the latest machinations of the Chinese government in relation to cryptocurrencies, I don't know, it goes up, it goes down, they're pro, they're against. We've talked about it enough. What is interesting is a nice positive move for the sphere is that the European Investment Fund has established a $110 million fund dedicated exclusively to AI and blockchain technology. The backing of good quality research and development coming out of the European Union, I think, is something that we should all see as incredibly bullish for the technology underpinning this industry as a whole. It's a great boon for the industry. It's a great boon for technology. It's a great boon for research generally, something that is chronically underfunded, particularly in the West at the moment, but around the world. Good old-fashioned research for the sake of good researchers coming from the European
Great moment
Investment
in
Fund.
Jonas to see how much he can drag this. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's an important thing. Look, the point stands to itself. If I can make it a meme, I'm going to make it a meme. The European Investment Fund.
Ooh, look
Okay.
at that full
It's
circle
critical.
moment there, bringing it back to the memes.
Okay, what do you think, guys?
Can we get the EU fund to fund some sick memes?
Possibly.
Maybe if you
Possibly
make a good
AI-based
point
meme.
about why that research.
Yeah,
Awesome.
maybe their
I'm gonna
AI
hit-
technology will be meme-based.
I'm gonna go back to the lab. I'm gonna run some tests. I'm gonna make some prototypes for some memes, and I'll be getting to you. You're gonna be my ambassador to the EU fund, and we're gonna get some stuff out there.
Sure. I mean, we're neither
Yeah,
in the EU nor...
The only thing I will say is I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I mean, I think that the China crackdown at the end of the day, because China is such a massive player in the sphere. I'm going to argue what you argued.
Sure.
For the memes?
No, with Whitney. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, those two stories should be pumped aside. First of all, about the EU, entirely so. Not enough about the fact that as a whole, as a continent, they see it coming much faster than the other side.
Also, in general, the reason I like stories like this actually being pumped, things like funds like this, is because I think in this arms race, right, that's what we're calling it now, this arms race in development, it's like a nice little incentive. It's like the US sees this, oh my God, we got to get on it. China sees this, oh my God, we got to get on it. So that aspect of it, I
Right,
do
a
really
nice
appreciate.
little country race going on, a
Some
little culture
incentives,
war
you know?
going on.
Yeah.
We're not against
Graphics,
that.
just
And then once they release like findings, that's even better. It's like, look what we found out. You didn't know this.
Yeah.
Okay, Iran. Thank you. That would be the control room. Now, we are going to Iran, last on the second round, last minute, trying to prove that we need to dump IRS anything
Right.
versus Philippines smart cities.
Right. So we
Your
definitely
minute starts now.
Okay, so we definitely need to dump anything IRS related. Last week the big story was already like the ATMs. IRS is cracking down on crypto ATMs, not doing well with AML and KYC. We get it. Get an accountant if you're confused about whether you owe the IRS money. Just like ask and pay
And if
it.
you're
Or
confused
don't
about
pay
it, you probably
Like,
can afford an accountant.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or don't pay it. Do whatever you want. I just the IRS isn't doing anything new at this point, and I really don't think we should be talking about them. Now, the Philippines, when you hear smart cities, I think people generally think of blockchain nations like Liberland is trying to do, right? This whole our entire government is going to be on the blockchain. But this is actually just really simple. It's a fund talking about accelerator programs, putting it into education. So smart cities doesn't mean electronically based cities or digital cities. It means digital literacy and how we can educate people so that they can make decisions. That's it.
How do we feel about
That's all
that?
I had.
I agree with you. I cannot stand the IRS.
But also, there's nothing new there. I mean,
it's the government.
exactly.
I think there's a flip side to smart cities, though, that require people to be a little bit cautious and a little bit more aware, which is that people like to barrel ahead, innovation at all costs, but there are elements, whether we talk about privacy, whether we talk about security, whether we talk about individual liberties that need to take place. Smart cities can often be a code word for governments who say, well, we want to co-opt and control every single element of your
day-to-day
lives.
And that's if they were implementing some sort of program that made the city smarter. But this is like essentially an accelerator program. This is for educational purposes only. And last week, I had the chance to be on Booze, and that was like a big blockchain on Booze, the segment where we drink and talk about blockchain. Buzz.
Yeah.
Anyway, and the big conversation was that people don't use their alternatives, and I'm a big believer that people don't use their alternatives because they don't know that they have an alternative.
Right.
And so generally, whatever you're offered, whether it be by government or whatever mainstream source, it's easy. You have an easy user experience. You don't have to think about it too much. And so people go back to that solution of the government is helping me because this is what I have. And if you educate people, then maybe they'll be better at knowing their alternatives. And it's very, you know what I mean? It's a very simple thing. This is a third world country at the end, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, on some level, like the poverty line is low and people don't know what they're doing. This gives them a viable alternative to manage their lives.
I guess, and given he's not in the room, so to play the free market capitalist that Yona would normally fulfill in this market, is it really the place of government to be doing this? Or should private enterprise be ensuring that there is that sort of...
That's the flip side of two evils, right?
That's the
It's an
age-old
evil on both
question,
sides.
but it's a very good question. And I want to say that all of this would have made much more sense in a meme.
Probably.
Exactly is, once
work on
again,
it.
the glorified winner of this, and thank God for all of you. This was Pump or Dump on Block TV, and of course, we'll be right back.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.